All right, so today we're going to go into part three, which is selecting your breed. Breed's going to depend on what you want to do. So if you're raising them for meat or for eggs or a dual purpose. Um, so first thing I would do before you go pick your chicks up, go ahead, turn your brooder on, get your brooder heated up. And now comes the part that you need to select what you want. So laying hens, you would like we just bought some black astrolorps. They're one of the better laying um, birds. They do hold I think it was several records. One of them being 364 eggs in a year. Keep in mind that these are commercial type setups where they use lighting and stuff to keep them laying year round because they're normally going to stop laying or slow down production in the fall. They'll start to molt, lose their feathers, get new feathers, and as the days get shorter, they don't lay as good. You kind of combat that with lighting and higher protein so that you can replace the protein they lose from the feather growth. There's actually called a feather fixer, but I just feed them a 22% um, layer, and it seems to do pretty good. I don't push the egg laying. I let them let their body kind of have a rest during that period. Like mine are just now starting to lay better. Um, with a higher protein, they don't stop, but they slow down. Where 20 birds, I was only getting 4 or 5 eggs versus 12 to 18. Um, this year I did change their feed to a 16%, so it did slow them down a little bit. I had about a month where they weren't laying anything, but that was okay. Like I said, I let their body kind of have a rest. It's how the good Lord made them, so I leave it at that. So we got black astrolorps, leghorns. Those are going to lay the white eggs. That's why you have a lot of white eggs. They're really common. They're a good layer, 200 to over 300. Let's see. Then you've got like your Astro Whites, which is a hybrid. Plymouth Rock. They're going to be good layers. There's all kinds of breeds out there. Your more fancy breeds, like your Bantams and stuff, those are going to be more for decorative. They still lay eggs, but they don't lay a ton of eggs. It just really depends on what you want. But you just have to make that selection. Issa Browns are good layers. I know Tractor Supply usually carries the Issa Browns, Rhode Island Reds, and the Astrolorps. I haven't ever seen them with leghorns, but that doesn't mean that they're not there. I just haven't seen them. So once you select your breed, if you just go up there and that's all they got, get what they got. Like I said, it just depends on if you can order them. You can. I order mine. I order my meat birds through the chickhatchery.com. They're not supporting me or anything in this. I can order meat birds year round. They ship year round, so that's why I use them. Meat birds, you got dual purpose. The black astrolorps, Rhode Island Reds, Plymouth Rock, and several others are dual purpose. Now they're going to take longer than like a meat variety to get up to weight, but they'll get big enough to produce the meat. If you're using them for eggs and then you're going to use them for meat, you're getting both uses out of them. I just ordered the Cornish cross meat bird. 8 weeks, and then I'm putting them in the freezer, and the males can get up to 6 pounds. So that's the way I go. Just because 2 months I get them, feed them, and then I'm processing them, and they're going to the freezer. It just that way I don't have to go 16 to 20 something weeks to get a bird big enough. Now keep in mind, layers are going to taste different from what you get in the store. It is tougher. It is tougher because the birds are older. Just keep that in mind. I mean, put it in a crock pot, put it in a pressure cooker, whatever. It's fine. It does have a little bit of I want to say gaminess to it. when you let them get a little older. So that's the key. Now, if you want to go with a meat variety, it takes a little bit longer, but not as long as a layer. You can go to like a Freedom Ranger or a Red Freedom Ranger. Those are going to take longer. I think it's like 12 to 15 weeks, something like that. But they also they forage a lot better than the Cornish. Cornish will forage, but they get so big so quickly that they don't forage as much. They don't get around as good as the Cornish don't get as good around as good as the Freedom Rangers. So that's going to be key is what you're doing. Select your breed. Do your research a little bit. See what's available, or just go up to Tractor Supply. They, like I said, they usually carry pretty decent breeds. You just have to decide. Ducks. Some people want to do ducks for duck eggs and meat. We've got some. What is it? 300 hybrid. I think they're called Golden 300 hybrid. I think is what they are. And then we've got some Rowans. Those are going to be Rowans look almost like a mallard, but they're bigger. And they're a meat duck. They're good sized ducks already. They've gotten huge compared to a heritage breed. Turkeys, same thing. If you want to do turkeys, I prefer heritage, but I have yet to see heritage turkeys at Tractor Supply. Usually it's the meat turkeys, a broad-breasted variety. You've got several of them. Let's see, I butchered out 2 of those, and they were 23 pounds a piece. That was the females. That was the hens. I didn't get any males. If I did, my dogs got a hold of them, unfortunately. They weren't at the age where I could tell what they were yet. I think we had 5. Right now we've got 4 of the meat turkeys. Keep in mind too, if you're going to use these for meat, don't name them, and they will imprint on you. I'm just letting you know. If you're going to use them for food, try to limit your contact with them. Otherwise, you're going to get attached and you're not going to be able to get the job done. So that's the biggest thing is feed and your breed. If you can let them forage more, that's awesome. But they need a good feed. If you want to use, you can do organic. Organic's expensive. Not going to lie. It's very expensive. I've been feeding the turkeys organic feed, and I think it's a 40-pound bag is running, I want to say $23, $24 a bag. It goes up to $30 depending on brand. So now what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to set up a soldier fly system where we can actually raise our own soldier flies. That's a really good protein. You actually catch the maggots from it, but they're not as, they don't get diseases and stuff like a regular housefly. It's very interesting. You can do some research on that. You're just using organic matter. You can get some leaves in the yard, and then add you some stuff from the scraps and stuff from the kitchen. Don't use any meat, just vegetables and stuff. Mix it all up, and there's a way to do it where you can they'll actually harvest themselves. But it's a very interesting setup. I've raised them by accident because I do raise mealworms, and I had a gnat problem. Put it outside, and actually got soldier flies mixed in with it. I was able to separate them, but that is a good protein. And it's actually really good for them, and actually I found out for piglets. That's a whole nother thing though. But anyway, so like I said, I just want to go over some of the breeds. There's a lot of different breeds. It just really depends on what you want, what you're looking for. But anyway, this is part 3. We're going to go to part 4 here in a little bit, which is we'll go over some of the birds. They're actually older now, so we can kind of get a look at them, see how they're doing. And then you're going to have to get a coop. If you don't have a coop yet, that's fine. You usually have several months to do that. So once you get them in there, you can start on the coop. That gives you some time, depending on breed. If you got them in the house, you need to put something over them, over that system you saw in 1 and 2 with the inside tub. You need to have something on there because they will start jumping out. It's very dusty. A way to combat that is a 20-inch box fan, and you can get a 20-inch filter for air conditioned system. Tape that to the back, and you turn that on facing away from them. And as that dust comes out, it'll get stuck in that fan. You just got to monitor it and change it as needed. But like right now, I have a lot of dust in this room. I got to go through, had to get a HEPA filter from my vacuum to get all this dust up. So make sure you're set up right. If you preferably in a room, if you try to keep it open, you're going to have dust everywhere if you don't use some kind of filtration system. So keep that in mind. If you can put them outside, build you a box, get them outside, that's going to be your best bet to combat that. You won't have to worry about that. But try to give yourself enough room for several months in that brooder. That light, you're going to either, what I like to do is I'll put it on a timer and I'll have it on only at night, or if it's going to get cold, really cold. So after about week 3 is when I do it, I start to cut that heat back a little bit. That way, and plus if it's outside, it's going to heat naturally with the sun. So if you can put it in I wouldn't say a sunny area, but maybe a shaded, but not just shaded all the time, because you don't want to cook them. You want to have a good airflow. Like I showed you mine, I can actually block it, and then as they get bigger, I can take and open up more of the area and allow more of the air to get in there. But you want to wait until they're fully feathered before you cut that light off permanently. But you want to ease them back on that light, either by raising the light, or I do it by the time. Like I said, 8, 9 o'clock, depending on where you live, it starts to heat up. It starts getting out of the 40s, 50s, 60s, and you want to be able to adjust for that. It all just depends on location. Same thing with the birds. You need to make sure that the bird you're getting is hardy. I don't use a heat lamp out in my coop. I use one in the brooder, but the coop, there is no heat lamp. I simply make it where the air can't get to them, and I only get a hardy breed. Got to look at that too. I don't have electricity out there. I have to run an extension cord all the way out there. I don't want to be able to have to do that during the winter time. But anyway, I just want to go over some of the breeds, some of the things you'll be going through. Like I said, pick out what's best for you and then go from there. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe. We'll see you next time.